This is 190 Vision Revisited, where reflection sparks transformation.
Welcome to this video review. Today, we're looking into something pretty fascinating, actually, sparked by a listener question.
Oh yeah, what's that?
Well, it's about how much where we live, the places nearby, can affect our well-being, our homes.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, and this listener is in a really unique spot, living in a building that used to be a church.
A former church, wow.
Right, and it's directly across the street from a cemetery.
Whoa. Okay, that definitely makes you think about surrounding energies.
Exactly. And it ties in perfectly with a video we're exploring today from the 190 Vision YouTube channel.
Ah, the one called How Does Living Near a Hospital, Cemetery, Church, Funeral Home, etc. Affect Us? With Laura and Coach.
That's the one. So our mission for this video review is to kind of unpack what Laura and Coach shared in that video.
Right, looking at how being close to these specific kinds of places might, lead to some unusual experiences.
Let's start right there with our listener situation. Former church, facing a cemetery. Laura in the video called this a potential double whammy.
Yeah, she did. Her first thought was really about the building itself, the former church.
Okay.
Buildings can hold on to energy from their history, and think about what happens in churches.
Sure, weddings, baptisms, funerals.
Exactly. And the video focused on funerals as potentially a source of lingering souls.
Lingering souls.
The idea being that some souls, after passing, might stay in a place that felt familiar or safe, like the church. Maybe they're just unsure where to go next.
Okay, that makes a certain kind of sense. A familiar space during a confusing time, so they might stick around the building.
Potentially, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, add the cemetery right across the street.
Right, the other part of the whammy.
Coach mentioned that cemeteries can house all sorts of souls, not just peaceful ones. Maybe lost souls, confused, even angry ones.
Okay.
And being so close, just across the street, well, it allows for easier movement, maybe a spillover.
Spillover. So souls from the cemetery could wander over?
That's the suggestion.
Yeah.
They might be drawn to the living, maybe wanting to connect or sort of experience life again through others.
And Laura and Coach pointed out this isn't always malicious, right?
No, not necessarily. It could just be a soul seeking that connection to life.
Yeah.
But it can still affect the people living there.
So the church's history with funerals, plus the cemetery nearby. Yeah, I can see why they called it a double whammy, the concentration of these lingering energies.
Precisely. The video implies that this specific combination could up the chances of experiencing, unusual stuff in the home.
They also talked about another case, someone living near both a church and a hospital.
Right, facing challenges at home.
We've touched on churches, but hospitals. Why are they seen as similar energy spots in the video?
Well, sadly, hospitals are places where death happens often. Laura and Coach suggest this means potentially many lost souls might linger around the hospital.
Okay, similar to the funeral aspect of churches.
Exactly. And these souls, according to the video, might wander from the hospital grounds and affect homes nearby.
So it's the proximity again?
Yes. And they even brought up the idea that a soul could attach to someone just walking past a hospital.
Really? Just walking by?
If their energies, their frequencies happen to align in that moment. That was the idea presented.
Wow. And the effects of an attachment like that. It's not always like ghosts rattling chains, is it?
No, that's a really key point they made. It might be more subtle.
How so?
Like the person might start taking on the disposition of the attached soul.
Taking on their personality traits.
Sort of. Maybe suddenly becoming more loving, or the opposite, unexplained anger, feeling the need to constantly explain yourself. Things that mirrored the soul's personality in life.
Coach had that analogy, didn't he? About souls being like influencers.
Yeah, like they're placing their behavior onto the person. Less dramatic possession, more like a subtle energetic influence,
Influencers. That's a really different way to think about it. Subtle shifts in mood or behavior that seem out of nowhere.
Exactly. Or even physical feelings that you can't explain.
Laura also shared something personal, didn't she? About her daughter.
Oh, right. After they brought their newborn daughter home from the hospital, she saw a silhouette.
A silhouette?
Yeah, of a little girl with blue eyes. They believed this spirit had actually followed the baby home from the hospital.
Wow. That's unsettling. What did they do?
Laura said she immediately called on Shiva, and apparently the silhouette disappeared right after.
It really highlights their belief in how quickly these energies can travel or attach, doesn't it? Especially from places like hospitals.
Definitely. It's a very vivid example. Then there was the case of the headaches.
Ah, yes, the person getting daily headaches after work. That one was like a little mystery.
It was. The headaches were consistent every day. Laura suggested looking at the route home, maybe passing somewhere significant.
And at first the person didn't think so.
Right. But then they realized, oh, wait, their commute took them past a Planned Parenthood clinic.
Okay. And the explanation in the 190 Vision video was?
Their belief, as stated in the video, was that souls connected to abortions at the clinic were catching to this person as they passed by.
Causing the headaches.
That was the connection they made, yes. And they said the headaches stopped completely when the person changed their route home.
So another example of a specific location potentially having a direct physical effect.
According to their perspective, yes. It links certain places and the specific energies they believe are associated with them to direct impacts.
Beyond these big locations, the video also mentioned other things in our environment. Cell phone towers, power lines.
Yeah, they touched on those. The idea presented was that electromagnetic frequencies from, say, cell towers might lower our own personal energy frequency.
Making us more vulnerable
to attachments, potentially, making it easier for these other energies to connect. Power lines, too, with their electromagnetic fields.
So modern technology potentially playing a role in our energetic defenses, according to them.
That was the suggestion. And then funeral homes came up, too.
Makes sense, connecting back to churches and cemeteries. Places of transition.
Exactly. They gave an example of a church located right across from a funeral home.
And what happened there?
Apparently, the church had a constant issue with souls coming over from the funeral home. It was like a steady stream.
Wow. So close proximity made it super easy for transfer.
So much so that they mentioned needing to put up some kind of spiritual protection around the church to manage it.
That's quite a direct example of neighborhood influence. They also discussed something pretty intense. Cursed land or buildings?
Right. That sounds dramatic, doesn't it?
It really does. What kind of situation were they talking about?
They told a story about a doctor, skilled guy, but his business was just failing. Completely inexplicably.
Failing how?
All sorts of problems. Constant issues with insurance companies, weird electrical problems in the building, supplies going missing, even patients just not showing up.
Despite him being good at his job.
Yeah. The belief explored in the video was that the land itself might have carried a curse, and there were maybe demons or poltergeists in the building.
Okay, that's heavy stuff. Did anything change?
Well, the video claims that after some spiritual work was done on the property, things turned around dramatically.
Like how?
Like suddenly got a new contract with a hospital, business started booming. It was presented as evidence that these deep-seated negative energies in a place can have real-world consequences.
It really makes you wonder about the unseen history of places. Now, what about inviting negativity back? They talked about that too, right? Even after a clearing.
Yes, that's a really interesting point they raised. They used a ping pong game analogy.
Ping pong.
Yeah, like someone has their space cleared, feels better, but then they keep dwelling on the past problems or they start doubting the clearing worked.
And that brings it back.
It can, according to Laura and Coach. By focusing on the negative or doubting, you can lower your own frequency again and, like a magnet, attract that same negativity right back. Ping pong. Clear it, attract it, clear it, attract it.
So the key is accepting the clearing is done and shifting your focus. Maintaining that higher energy state.
That seems to be the crucial part, yes. Don't keep playing the game, essentially. They also mentioned geopathic stress. What's that about?
Ah, right. Geopathic stress. That's about negative energies coming from under the house, from the earth itself.
Under the house.
Yeah.
Like what? Things like underground streams or geological fault lines. The video suggested these can emit energies that aren't great for us.
Affecting health?
Potentially, yeah. They linked it to possible health issues, even serious ones like cancer, but also said it can make a place more attractive to negative entities.
So issues from below ground too.
But they also mentioned these stresses can often be neutralized. And that, lots of cultures traditionally check land for this kind of stuff before building or buying.
Good point. A kind of energetic due diligence. Okay, so with all these potential influences, churches, hospitals, cemeteries, clinics, funeral homes, did they give any kind of guideline on proximity? Like how close is too close?
They did offer a general rule of thumb, living within about 1/4 of a mile of these kinds of places.
A quarter mile?
Yeah, roughly. Living within that distance could potentially increase the chances of experiencing some of these unusual phenomena we've been talking about.
Okay, that's a concrete guideline, though obviously just a general one.
Right, and they stressed again that even if you do live close, there's often spiritual work that can be done to help mitigate the effects.
So wrapping up this video review, the main takeaway from the 190 vision discussion seems to be that, yes, where you live, the physical surroundings.
Especially proximity to these places tied to big life events, death, transition.
It really can seem to have an impact on your personal energy, the feeling in your home, potentially due to these lingering energies or attachments they talked about.
Exactly. And it suggests that if you're facing unexplained stuff, looking at the history and nature of what's nearby might be, well, a useful avenue to explore.
Absolutely. And if you want to hear more directly from Laura and Coach, or explore their perspective further,
you can find 190 Vision on their Facebook group. Their website is 190vision.com.
They're also on YouTube, obviously. Just search 190 Vision.
And they have an Instagram account and even an Amazon Fire channel. Lots of places to find their content.
So maybe a final thought for you, the listener, to consider.
Yeah.
Have you ever thought about the unseen influences in your own environment? Could any odd experiences you've had, anything you couldn't quite explain, be somehow connected to the history or just the nature of the places nearby?
Definitely something to mull over.